Donald Trump took the stand today for an angry and combative appearance in his New York fraud trial, marking the first time he's faced direct questioning from prosecutors in court as part of a sprawling case that could wipe out his entire business empire. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Just to recap, throughout his presidency, Donald Trump was consistently the most disliked president in the history of polling. He lost the popular vote by 3 million the first time and 7 million the second time. He cost the GOP the House in 2018 and the Senate in 2020. His hand-picked candidates in 2022 were rejected and humiliated in almost every single race where he played a major role. He got impeached twice, oversaw a disastrous and incompetent response to a once-in-a-generation pandemic. He orchestrated a coup attempt and incited a riotous mob to storm the Capitol that threatened to kill his own vice president and install him as an unelected dictator. He's facing 4 separate criminal cases, as well as a civil fraud trial that could erase his entire business empire. And on top of all that, he's the weirdest human being on the planet. So naturally, after all that, he is finally slinking away from the national spotlight in disgrace to face consequences for his behavior. And I'm just kidding. He's leading in the polls again by like a lot.
In the race for the White House, new polls are showing some very unfavorable trends for President Biden. The latest CBS News poll of likely voters finds President Trump slightly ahead of President Biden.
The New York Times poll of 6 battleground states that President Biden won back in 2020. Now, in 5 out of 6 of those states, Mr. Biden is trailing Donald Trump. He's behind by 5 in Arizona, 6 in Georgia, and a startling 10 points in Nevada. He's even trailing in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, where the president has seen strong Democratic support.
This brings us to a new segment we're calling Seth Stares Off into the Distance and Mutters to Himself for a Second. Biden's old, but Trump's old too. I mean, some people say, oh, this will be good for you, but get that out of here. This isn't a real cigarette. This has been Seth Stares Off into the Distance and Mutters to Himself for a Second. Now, I know we are a full year away from the election, and it's natural and normal for people to express their frustration with the incumbent at this point in the calendar. The same thing happened with Obama, too, and then he went on to easily defeat Mitt Romney. In fact, Gallup's final poll before the election had Romney ahead, so there's no reason to panic. On the other hand, we have to start panicking now! Man, we are... So, I guess this new poll makes Trump the frontrunner, not just for the GOP nomination, but for the whole deal. Yeah, I mean, okay, cool, what a world. That would mean the current frontrunner to be the next president spent the day in court where he was grilled on the stand by prosecutors about his company's alleged widespread fraud. And this morning, when he arrived in court, he did his usual Trump shtick where he complained about the proceedings and lashed out at everyone involved.
It's a very unfair situation. This is really election interference. That's all it is. This trial is ridiculous. The numbers are much greater than on the financial statement, and we've already proven that. It's very unfair. But in the meantime, the people of the country understand it, they see it, and they don't like it. They don't like it because it's political warfare, as you would call it, or political lawfare. Another name. They got a lot of names for it.
Maybe you should spend less time coming up with names for things and more time coming up with a defense. Mr. President, we have to explain to the judge how you came up with this net worth estimate. I call it warfare or lawfare, or how about this one, law not fair? I was up all night for that one. So far, the entirety of the Trump defense has basically been that they had no idea what was going on at their own company. Last week, Trump's 2 oldest sons, who were officers at the company, pleaded ignorance when they took the stand.
2 of Trump's sons, Don Jr., Eric as well, who are executive vice presidents at the Trump Organization, they both testified this week. Both made arguments that were nearly identical, that it was the company's accountants who, in fact, were responsible for issues with financial statements, not them.
I'm apparently guilty of fraud for relying on my accountant to do, wait for it, accounting. I mean, think about that. What does that do for literally any other business? You pay experts millions of dollars to be experts. You sign off on what they give you.
That's, wait for it, not how it works. By the way, I'd be fine if we instituted automatic jail time for anyone who does wait for it in 2023. They're accountants. You give them information, and then they just prepare the statements. They're not the ones running your business. You're supposed to be in charge of them. Also, you can't believably say you employ experts when your family has also employed the law firm of weirdo, goofball, and nuts. Oh, no, was Rudy Giuliani also your accountant? Good news, boss. I just did all the numbers, and it's a unicorn. I'm as surprised as you were, boss. It's a mythical creature. Now we have proof. The other defense they've been using before today is that Trump's children should be left alone, even though 2 of them were officers of the company who signed off on the statements in question.
Trump is accusing Attorney General James of harassing him and his children.
Mr. Trump is lashing out online, saying, "Leave my children alone."
And now these children are being brought in away from their families for doing nothing wrong.
These poor, innocent, lightly bearded children are being brought in alone. Their nannies have to wait outside, which means they're going hours between snacks. It is shameful. But today it was Trump's turn to take the stand, and let's just pause for a moment to appreciate how dramatic this is. A former president being grilled in court about systemic, years-long fraud at his company, which is the entire basis of his fortune and his image as a supposedly successful businessman. And this isn't even one of the 4 criminal cases. This is just a civil case. We become so inured to Trump's flagrant lawbreaking and insanity that it barely registers as news anymore. If Martin Van Buren had been dragged into court on fraud allegations, that would be the only thing anyone remembers about him. Instead, all anyone remembers about him is the Seinfeld episode. Or that's the only thing Sal remembers about him. And I'm sure it won't shock you to learn that Trump was both combative and uncooperative during his testimony today. In fact, this morning, he couldn't even make it through the first half hour of testimony without repeatedly picking fights with the judge and getting yelled at.
Happening now behind those doors, Donald Trump has been testifying in the civil fraud trial against him. He's been on the stand for about 25 minutes or so. He has been admonished by the judge. He has criticized the judge. The judge has told him to stick to answering the questions, in this all within the first minutes of testimony.
That's how it started. They couldn't even make it 25 minutes without having to wrangle him like they're trying to give medicine to a cat. He was supposedly the commander-in-chief. He can't even get through one day in court without getting into like 9 different fights within the first 25 minutes. He's like a blue-collar dad at a fancy restaurant, immediately furious he didn't get bread right away. What kind of horse hockey is this? I want butter, not a dish full of chopped up olives. And why the hell is everyone wearing a suit? This is a restaurant, not a funeral. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if someone dropped dead when they saw these prices. Screw this, I'm going to the Golden Corral. I told the valet guy, just tell me where you parked it. In fact, things got so heated that at one point the judge had to turn away from Trump and appeal to his lawyers to get him to behave. Now, because there are no cameras inside, we can't actually see what happened, so we have to rely on narration from reporters on even the smallest gestures or facial expressions.
Let's get back out to the courthouse. Paula Reed's got some more detail from inside. What's happening?
This is getting pretty heated. The judge asking Trump's lawyer, quote, "Can you control your client? This is not a political rally." This coming from our colleagues who are inside the courtroom watching this live. The judge forcing Trump's lawyer, Chris Kise, to talk to the former president. The former president, we're reading here, apparently waved his arms at any suggestion of taking a 10-minute break. He is sitting back in his chair, we're told, just pursing his lips in that sort of classic Trump smile. Trump's lawyers assuring the judge that their client, quote, understands the rules. The judge shot back and said, well, he doesn't abide by them. Now, apparently, they're back into questioning.
This is kind of a frustrating way to hear what's going on in court. It's like listening listening to hockey on NPR. Like, you know the action is crazy, but it's so confusing to listen to. Let's see, we're getting more reporting from the courthouse. Yes, Mr. Trump waved his hands and pursed his lips. Then he moved them in and out like he was playing an invisible accordion. Then he began drawing little boxes with his fingers and pointing to his head, saying, "I understand the rules. I have them all up here in my big brain." Then the judge shot back, "You're not acting like you know the rules." Then Trump said, "Am too," and the judge said, "Am not." Then Trump said, "Am too." Then the judge said, "Am not." Then Trump said, "It smells like Updog in here." Then the judge said, "I'm not falling for that." Then Trump said, "I don't know, dog. What's up with you?" Then the judge said, "You can't just act like I fell for it. Loser says what?" Then Trump said, "What?" Then the judge said, "You said what? That means you're a loser." Then Trump got angry and screamed, "This is warfare. No, wait, it's lawfare. No, wait, it's law unfair." Then he got up and tried to storm out of the courtroom, but his tie got stuck in the door, and he fell backwards and split his pants and threw up on himself, and the judge called a recess, and Trump said, "The judge my pants," and the judge said, "No, I didn't." Then Trump said, "Then how did get in my pants?" Then the judge said, "Maybe it was up, dog." Then Trump said, "What's up, dog?" Then the judge said, "I don't know, what's up with you?" And the entire courtroom laughed. Back to you, Kate. Although I guess the judge's warning did start to sink in with Trump at some point, because as he left the courtroom for a morning break, reporters tried to ask him a question, and he just made a lip-seal gesture as he walked away.
Trump, how's it going in there?
He could have said no comment like a grown-up, but of course he did a goofy gesture like an 8th grade girl who knows about your crush. The only time he's made that gesture in his life was when his kids asked him to read a bedtime story. "Sorry, boys, I'm under a gag order." The 2024 presidential election is still a year away, and a lot can happen, but no one should doubt that as of this moment, Trump could very well win, which would give him the power to pardon himself, essentially erase his indictments, and officially declare himself above the law. Again, as we've seen before, a lot can change and will change between now and next November. So when it comes to the election, all we can do for now is just stay calm while we...
Wait for it.
This has been a closer look. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching A Closer Look. And as a reminder, my brother Josh and I have started a new podcast called Family Trips with the Myers Brothers. We hope you listen. We hope you like it. And see you soon.